Welcome back again to a very, very special episode of Chasing Tone Podcast.
Oh, they're all special. They're all special.
They are all special, but this one's extra special because Blake, I've missed you. We've been out of touch for the past few weeks, and the folks who do listen to the Chasing Tone Podcast have had to endure my guitar playing and my solo bantering.
I'm sorry. Things have been so nutso. I'm like trying to organize this big thing coming up, and which you are aware of, and sometimes it's like herding cats.
That's just kind of how we all are in the industry here. So
I'm like, hey, the thing. I need the thing. Well, I thought I sent the thing. No, you didn't send the thing because I don't have the thing. And, well, okay, I'll get the thing. And then someone like, I don't know if I want to do the thing. I'm like, well, then don't do the thing. But I need to know, so I have to find someone else to do your thing. And then it's been interesting. I knew it was going to be involved, but it's a little more involved than I anticipated.
Right. I understand what you mean. I'm sure everyone else here is going, what is the thing? What is it talking about?
They'll all know very soon. Very soon.
You need the thing to do the thing. This makes no sense. I hate this podcast. I'm going to leave a bad review now.
Oh, no. Don't do that. We'll stop talking about the thing that you can't hear about, the thing you don't know, and the thing that me and Brian know about that you don't know, because we know about things that you don't, that are secret.
But you'll find out about the thing very shortly once he talks about the thing.
Yeah, the thing will be here. It'll be here, and you'll like it. You'll like it. Okay. Enough about the thing.
Enough of it. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, a couple good topics for you today, my friend Blake.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is cheap pedals. Let's call it inexpensive pedals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inexpensive pedals that surprised you, that you actually really like.
Oh yeah, I got a few of those. You want me to go? Yeah,
you go first, and then I'll weave my little interjections in there. And,
okay. We'll wander over to the pedal cabinet here and take a gander.
Because you're in your own shred shed right now, right?
I am. I don't often get to do this, but I am broadcasting from my I call it the tone cave. So.
Right. Because normally you're laying down on the job and like, I guess I'm gonna do a podcast here, right?
Don't tell.
I was teasing.
But yeah, normally I'm in the office or something, so this is much more a conducive environment to creative thought. How about we put it that way?
There you go.
Does that sound good? Yeah.
Yep.
So the most recent one, and probably one of the coolest ones of my cheap pedals, is I got one of those Tone Lock series Ibanez phasers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great sounding phaser. It's not as wild as some of the newer ones that have come out recently, but it is a really good.
Trying to remember what model number that is. Is that a? I'm not thinking of flanger chorus.
It's a PH7 phaser.
PH7. Okay. Yep. Yes. I got it in my mind.
Yeah, yep. It's a great sounding pedal, and I got it for like $25. I've been using it a lot, and I'm starting to come around to modulation and stuff a lot more. Really liking it a lot. So, which kind of modulation specifically? All of them.
Like phase, flange?
Phase and flange. I just got this is the opposite end of what we're talking about, but I just got a Chase Bliss Spectre a couple weeks ago. I'm obsessed with it. It's amazing.
Just because it opened your mind to a bunch of different things you can do with it, right? Rather than like speed and depth.
Exactly. Yep. There's so many more things that you can do especially with that pedal in particular.
Right.
But it's like, I used to be like, I don't like flanger. Like, I don't like it. It's so dumb. But it's not. It's incredible. So, let's see. Back to the cheap pedals. Yeah, so the PH7 phaser's been a big... I've been... Every time we've jammed lately, I've been using that phaser for just kind of general thickening of the sound in certain parts, know? So...
Yep.
That one's really good. I've talked about this pedal before.
Not to interrupt. Well, actually, to interrupt you, I guess. A lot of those 7 series pedals I really like. Like, I actually like the TS7, the Tube Screamer. I like that better than a lot of other TS type circuits on the market. I know that's terrible, but I don't know. Call me stupid. Everybody else does,
I think this. I think the 7 series in general people are starting to discover that it's kind of been a diamond in the rough. Like,
Right.
I'm hunting for the delay. Some people say it's one of the best delays they've played, and I really, really want to try it. So,
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I had a bunch of them back in my indie guitarist days. I had like shelves full of them,
mm-hmm.
and you know how. Well, maybe it's just me. Like, if I have a pedal for a while, I don't anymore, but I used to. Like, if I had it laying around for a while, I'd be like, you know what, I should probably get rid of this and just buy it. Freed up the cash to buy something else. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But not ever thinking that might be something that will come in handy 5 years down the road to revisit, or you know what I mean. So, yeah, I wish there's so many of those 7 series pedals and the 10 series pedals that I wish I didn't get rid of.
Yeah,
So
I hear that. I don't, as you know, I don't really sell gear. I just acquire. I may get to a point in my life where I have to sell some simply because I already had to build this shack to hold a bunch of gear, and if I have to like build another one, that might be an indication that it's time to off a few things.
it's funny you mention that. So, and we're going to go off subject sort of a little bit. So your
Shocking.
shred shed is getting too small. Too small.
Not yet. It's I got several years before that happens.
Well, my I guess what you would call my shred shed, which is basically kind of like some rooms inside of a big pole barn. If you watch my Snapchat, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having to add on because I'm running out. I'm out of shelf space. Seriously, like I'm looking at my walls and all the rooms, and they're all full, and I'm like, I need more shelf space because I also have boxes of pedals that are on the ground.
Right.
Because there's just nowhere to put them. I know it sounds stupid, but like we do with all the prototypes and everything, I need to keep each version.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this before, how sometimes there can be just tons and tons of prototypes till we get to a final version. And they're just laying around in boxes. So whenever I do need to pull up something, I'm like, which box is that in? And then dump it on the floor, and it's just not a good deal,
No.
So
I'm not there yet, but I did, my pedal board. I had this junky old DIY one that I made, and it kept expanding, and then pretty soon it was like, this is kind of the process of what I went through anyway. First of all, I was just using pedals on the floor, and I've quickly realized that's lame and built a DIY thing. And it worked pretty good for a while, and I got it all filled up. Then I ended up like making a second tier for it, and then it turned into this monstrosity. And I was like, I got too many pedals on my board. I guess I'm just gonna have to start swapping things in and out. And then it got to I built the shed and put all my guitar stuff out there, and it was like, these pedals are all just laying around. So I converted an old gun cabinet into like a pedal cabinet. I put shelves and stuff in it, and it looks cool. But it's full now, like completely full. And I when I first did it, I was like, I'll have plenty of space for a couple years. And it was like,
that's kind of dangerous. If I understand you right, you have a gun cabinet, you put pedals in your gun cabinet, and you lay your guns on the ground.
No, I
shouldn't
bought a
be
safe.
doing that.
No, I bought a safe.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, well, I put them on the. Well, I try to put them near preschools. I just stash them in the bushes, loaded.
That's terrible. Yeah, podcast over. No.
No, I bought a safe. I like to
Welcome
consider
back to JC Tone Podcast. Blake Wyland is on indefinite leave.
I'm sorry, my mind goes terrible sometimes.
I'm just teasing. Okay,
but anyway,
continue on. Sorry.
So yeah, it's getting full, and now I'm like, am I gonna start installing some shelves a la Wampler? Am I gonna build am I going to build a cabinet, like another cabinet, or I'm not sure what my thing is. Like if I build shelves, I'm encroaching on valuable guitar wall hanging space. So I have to try to figure out what the next pedal storage method is.
Yeah, I mean, and I keep thinking the same thing. There's got to be a better way, Because, I mean, I'm literally just using like wire shelves with like some tile, not tile, but like cheap laminate tile over the top. That way, like, because the cracks just they don't sit right. And
Yeah.
with my OCD, that like totally just messes with me. Um, so okay, so I'm looking at like my cheaper pedals. I found a few Arions. Remember those?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You got the tubulator, which is kind of a cool tube screamer thing. I did find a DS7 5 Of course, when talking about inexpensive stuff, you got to talk about the Arion Stereo Chorus,
Well, of course.
the SCH. What is it? SCH1.
I think so.
I have the Z, which is not the same thing, different chip inside, I believe, but still a pretty good chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Nobles have put out some great stuff. Of course, the ODR1 Overdrive is legendary in a lot of circles, especially in Nashville.
Yes, I still haven't just did it yet. I don't know why.
You need to. Good stuff. Bad bypass. I'm not fond of the bypass. The sound, like the true character, I guess you could say. But as far as the tone goes, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What else do I have that I'm looking at? Zoom made a was it a power booster? I think it's a power booster.
That sounds right. I've never played one, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, I forget what it's called. I'm looking at the Hyperlead not the Hyperlead, the Tri-Metal, and it just made me think of I used to have like an overdrive from them. It was silver. I forget what it's called, but anyways, it was great. It was fantastic. I loved it. In fact, back in the day, like 2004 or 5, on the gear page, people were speculating that I think it was a gear page. One of those gear pages, people were speculating that it was actually like a clone of the Klon at that time.
Oh,
which at that time, like nobody had done, right? Like nobody that they weren't doing it. Of course, now everybody's got one. Let's see. This Strymon's a really inexpensive pedal. Really looking at like from an inexpensive point of view, there are so many great inexpensive pedals that just stop buying our stuff. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
No, there are some really good ones.
Like, and I'm a fan of modifying them. So I love to take.
Of course, is that something you're known for? Modifying pedals? I don't know.
It's becoming more and more. I'm trying to get my name out there. I'm thinking about writing a book or two about modifying pedals. I don't know. If I do, though, I'm not going to sell it for $500 like that one guy, that indie guitarist guy. Dude, what a jerk. What a jerk. Now, so if no one knows what I'm talking about, apparently the book that I did write like 10 years ago, since I did stop releasing that, and apparently they're selling for like $600 or $700 on Amazon. So don't buy that. Seriously, that's stupid. That's a dumb price. Don't
buy it. Brian seriously, will send you a PDF.
I wouldn't pay that much for that book. But I am rewriting that book, so I'm trying to. I know.
Said that a
Here's
year
the thing,
ago.
though. Like I've had my head down, redesigning a bunch of stuff, which everybody is going to see very shortly about the newest stuff that we'll be releasing. And so we haven't released anything for damn near a year. Yeah, about a year. And we'll be coming out with pretty much something new every 60 days for at least the next 6 months. So, anyways, I forgot where I was going with that.
I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I don't know anything about what you're talking about. Nothing about
somewhere in there I was leading to a point. Oh, that's right, the book. Okay. So anyway, I've been designing new stuff for 2017 or late 2016, 2017. And as a result of me doubling down on my hustle, I guess you could say that I should have some more time around hopefully like November-ish. Like I really love to knock out the book by over Thanksgiving weekend. That's my plan.
You heard it here first.
That's my plan, man. So
all right. Well, that'll be exciting. That might even make me pick up a soldering iron.
And the modifications that I'm putting in, like the ones I did before, a lot of them were really, really simple. Like to the guy that, if you know anything about electronics, you're like, well, of course that increases bass, and of course that does that. That wasn't my goal. Was not to really educate engineers. It was to educate guys like, the everyday guitar player, who may have some experience, like changing out his pickups or something. Like he knows how to use a soldering iron, and just saying, here's just change these parts. Super easy. You don't have to know any theory. So that was.
Well, guys like what yourself was when you started doing.
Yeah, I was really writing it for my younger self, So, here, Brian, instead of reading books, just do this stuff. So, anyways. So, yeah, I mean,
I almost forgot. Uh-huh. I almost forgot about one of my favorite cheap pedals, but we can revisit that.
I was going to just mention something that we had talked about earlier, which is the DS1.
The DS1,
the Boss DS1, which I know that I think you said you're not a big fan of.
I'm not a big fan of in stock form. It just doesn't sound very good to me. But I do have a modded one from Alchemy Audio that sounds quite nice.
Yeah, I mean the modification.
So I know there's potential there. I don't know what he did, but it sounds good.
The modifications you can do to that are numerous. I mean, you can do all kinds of modifications that really turn it into something totally different entirely.
I seen a guy. I haven't got to check out the YouTube video yet, but he's on Instagram as Simon the Magpie, and he just kind of like bends circuits and does all kinds of crazy thing. He took a DS1 and like put 40 bazillion switches in it, and he says it sounds super wild, and I'm really interested to go check the YouTube video. I haven't done it yet, but
it's really a fun circuit for the guy like getting into stuff, because there's not a whole lot to it. Yeah, I mean, like there's not a bunch of crazy stages doing wacky stuff. It's just cut and dry. It's like kind of like modifying the distortion version of a tube screamer. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
right.
It's cool. And I'll be doing a YouTube video on some DS1 mods too at some point. Anyways.
Cool.
So, anything else you want to mention before we move on?
So another one that I have that's kind of weird, and one I really like, it's not really probably that weird, it's just not talked about as often as some other pedals of similar feature sets. It's the DoD FX96 analog delay. And it sounds
FX96, yeah,
it sounds really good. It's got the same like the legendary Panasonic chipset as like a DM2 or a Memory Man that everyone like clamors for, but I got the thing for like $25. So it's kind of nice because you find a DM2 for that price with the kind of a similar sound, and you're going to be paying through the nose for it. So. Yeah,
right.
Keep an eye out for those.
That's a 3-knobber, right?
It's a 4-knobber. One of the knobs, it's got your standards, and then the last knob is like a tone control. They call it a tape quality. They kind of marketed it like it was a emulation of a tape echo. But it's just a bright and dark knob basically. It's a cool pedal. The buffer in it isn't very good, so bypass it kind of sounds bad, but as a delay it sounds great.
Yeah, well, a lot of those pedals, a lot of those DoD pedals, if I remember right, they're using a certain type of for all intents and purposes it's an analog switching IC, right? I think there's other companies that used it too, but I think part of the problem with it is it just wasn't like whenever you turn things off, you still had some bleed through sometimes, and like it just, I don't know, the quality of bypass I don't think wasn't nearly up to par as like what they are now. But I mean, the technology has changed so much. I mean, of course, it's not going to be the same,
Right.
But
right.
I mean, there's a lot of people doing true bypass mods and stuff like that. So
yeah, and
that's one way to skin it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to do something sort of. It's not as simple as just wiring in a new switch on those. You have to do something. You have to I can't remember what it is. I remember looking into this one time to try to fix this problem, and it wasn't just throw a.
And it's been it's been some years since I did it, if I recall right. So basically, like you're wiring the circuit so it's always on.
That's right. That's right.
And there's different ways to do that. But so you're wiring the circuit so it's always on, and then you're taking like the mechanical quote unquote true bypass switch. And then you're wiring it up like you normally would. So yeah, it's not like you put a new switch in and it's like bam, true bypass. You got same thing with like the Boss pedals. So you have to do some extra stuff to it.
Right. What is it about, like, I mean, for the most part, a lot of Boss pedals, I mean, not a lot, but some of the Boss pedals sound fine bypassed, even though they, they could be better, I guess. But, like, all these old DODs that I have all sound terrible bypassed. I don't know what it is. Is there a common thread there?
It's... Well, to be honest with you, I'd have to look at the actual schematic to know for sure. But, I mean, you like normally when you have that sort of problem, it's because you're loading down, like, the input or something like that, and it's just sucking some tone dry, you know? I mean, it's just not a good signal path. Or there's other crap in the signal path that doesn't let all the signal through. Like the switches are just barely on a little bit, providing a little bit of resistance that wouldn't normally be there. Stuff like that. I mean, there's like the way you do it in analog is. Let me think of a way to simplify this. So basically, you have. And there's different ways to do it, of course. But basically, you have like these little, like a transistor of sorts, or it could be an IC, but let's call it a transistor. That whenever you send it a surge of power, it opens or closes. So, in other words, it provides the signal to go through, or it puts a huge amount of resistance in there. And so, therefore, the signal routes the other way.
Right.
I gotcha. Through a couple buffers and then around the circuit and out. And like I said, I mean, we're talking years ago when that stuff was made. So, I mean, the stuff available, like a switch like what we use now, wasn't common. You know, like the triple pole switches, which is like the true bypass switch. That stuff wasn't readily available. Like you couldn't just get on Small Bear and order 1,000 of those. You know, I mean, I think Mike Fuller. I don't know if he was or not. I'd say arguably, I think Mike Fuller was probably the guy that popularized that, using those switches. And
they're originally for something else, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, originally, like they're not really intended for audio, or at least they weren't at the time. They're more intended for heavy duty. Well, I'm not heavy duty necessarily, but like, it's just a general generic mechanical switch that no one thought was going to be. Yeah, I mean, no one thought it was going to be turned off 1,000 times, a month or whatever,
Right. Hence the reason for going to relays.
Yeah,
like we've talked about before.
Yeah, I mean, there are some companies, and like I said, I think Mike was really, and I'm sure it might not have been Mike specifically, but from what I recall of different conversations of people talking, it seems like Mike was instrumental on having some companies, try to come up with a better switch. There's several different companies that provide those switches now, but still, at the end of the day, it's a mechanical moving part, right? And that stuff wears out. Especially when you got a 200-pound dude stomping on it, like it's. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of force for a switch,
Right.
And so not necessarily made to do that. But,
right.
The relays are better. I mean, there's downsides to relays as well. I mean, it uses more power. It does actually. It switches quicker. So
really interesting.
So. There's throws inside that like move from one position to the other.
Yes.
From like left to right, let's say. And on a mechanical switch, it moves like as you push the plunger down, right? But on a relay, electricity tells it to move, so it moves instant. Really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on some, and we have to design around this. So on some pedals, you have to, they have relays, and everyone has their way of doing it. But if you
Oh,
don't,
this is all coming back to me. I remember this
yeah,
conversation now. Mm-hmm.
if you don't have other things in the microcontroller code to fix this, then if you just put relays in a pedal and don't account for anything else at all with it, then you're going to have probably a little more of a pop, a thud whenever you turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just simply because that relay is the throws are going over very quick and very hard.
Gotcha. So you got to compensate in there,
So,
like you're putting a little bit of a delay in there, right? Like, or something to that effect.
I can't. Okay. So trade secret there. I can't tell you how we do it, but I can. But we definitely spent months and months making sure that it was very quiet whenever that happened.
I've been talking to lots of other people about this problem, and so I don't know how you did it, but that's one thing anyway.
There are some people that have a little delay in there. Yeah, there are some people that have like a delay in there where it doesn't switch right away.
I've actually seen that though, like where they have it a little bit too long. I don't want to call anybody out, but
it feels uncomfortable.
It feels weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So no, we do not do it that way.
Another thing I saw.
Magical fairies inside.
Magical fairies? Pedal fairies?
Yes, we have magical.
I knew it.
Magical fairies inside. They totally make sure that the relays are comfortable and a nice, are in a good mood and not wanting to throw too hard.
Is it kind of like Kobe beef, where they like massage the cow and feed it beer? That's what it's doing to the relays.
Yes, yes. It's grass-fed relays. Grass-fed relays.
Perfect. I mean, when I search for pedals, I want free-range relays mostly.
So we've been looking at relays that actually do not use antibiotics, but apparently they're not available very readily yet. So I'm still looking at Small Bear for those, though.
When you Small Bear's your go-to for cruelty-free partner purchasing. Yes,
exactly.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad to see that kind of product is available in the world. That just makes me warm and fuzzy.
And as it should.
No animals were harmed in the making of Wampler pedals.
Or our switches, correct.
Man, this is great news.
Well, that about wraps it up for this week. If you have any questions or comments, you can always email info@tonemob.com if you want to get Blake's take on something. You can email podcast@wamplerpedals.com if you want to get my take on something, or both, and just compare both of our answers and then make fun of us afterwards.
Right. They'll be like, you guys get completely different answers.
You could play us and say, well, Brian says this, Blake, and vice versa. And then we'll be like, oh, well, Brian's an idiot, so don't listen to him.
Brian doesn't know what he's talking about. He only makes pedals and stuff. I just play them. I'm the one who knows everything. So, anyway.
Exactly. So, you gotta love it.
We are so dumb. Oh, wow, this is amazing.
Okay, so let me recover from that real quick. You can also hit up the Tone Mob group on Facebook. You can hit up the Wampler Pedals Tone group on Facebook as well. Check us out on Instagram. Just search Tone Mob and Wampler Pedals. You'll find us. For that, we will talk to everyone next week.